I'm Mark Hall. In a shocking twist this week, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin announced this week that he would not seek re-election in 2024. He posted a video to his social media account on X.
I've made one of the toughest decisions of my life and decided that I will not be running for re-election to the United States Senate.
And joining me now is Kevin Cirilli. He's a contributor with our media partners at The Hill. Kevin, welcome to Capitol Review.
Thank you for having me.
Well, what's your immediate reaction to Senator Joe Manchin's announcement that he's not going to run again?
Bad news for Democrats in the Senate. I mean, when you look at the map in West Virginia and you've got the governor there, Jim Justice, who's a deeply conservative in a deeply conservative state that went for Trump in 2016 and 2020 by something like more than 20 to 30 percentage points. I saw one poll that had it 40 plus up for Trump in the upcoming election. It was a tough road for Manchin, but that really does make it difficult for Democrats in the 2024 down ballot races in the Senate to keep control, rather, of the upper chamber. But I want to say something else, and there's 2 points that I would quickly add. The first is that Manchin had toyed with this idea of switching parties, something like Senator Kyrsten Sinema did down in Arizona or others. And he's frequently said that, but he didn't decide to do that. But the bigger point that I would really make here is that will Manchin keep this open rumination about running for president in 2024? You know, I was up in New Hampshire over the summer moderating a town hall for No Labels at St. Anselm's, the famous St. Anselm's in New Hampshire. And I asked them point blank, if you were to choose that, would you be a spoiler candidate? And he says that he doesn't get into any race to lose. Now, earlier today on The Hill TV's Daily Debrief, I spoke to his senior advisor, Jonathan Cott, and Cott doubled down, continuing to leave the door open for his former boss, Joe Manchin. So, you know, Democrats are worried not only about Manchin's move and what it means for the Senate, they're also worried potentially about what it means to 2024.
Do you think maybe, Kevin, he was worried that he just flat out wouldn't win? He wouldn't beat Jim Justice. You talk about Justice's roots in West Virginia. He's a very popular governor. Do you think that maybe he just didn't think there was a path to get a win?
And Justice, remember, he has that pet bulldog that he takes everywhere. You know, I do think when I spoke over the last several weeks with sources close to Manchin, I do think that they had a realistic assessment of what's going on, not just with the Republican Party, but with Democrats as well. Manchin represented for decades coal country. And when you look at the modern day Democratic Party, you know, you got AOC with the Green New Deal. I'm not sure Manchin felt like he was able to really have a contingency. And the Democrats, he feels that they've gone too far to the left. But the conservatives in his state, he would argue, have gone too far into MAGA. So, you know, he was in the middle, quite literally.
You know, Kevin, obviously in nearby Pennsylvania, Bob Casey's up for re-election. Who knows which way that's going to go? But you talk about the Democrats right now have this slim margin. And, of course, now that Manchin is not running as a Democrat, do you think that the Dems are really concerned and may even be in trouble if they want to try and, maintain control of the Senate?
Yes. Now, President Biden tweeting out from the White House account earlier this week saying that, well, look at the results in Virginia the other night where Democrats swept both legislators. So they feel confident and emboldened by that. But when you look at national polls, Trump is beating Biden, according to New York Times Siena College poll and obviously the CNN poll. You mentioned Pennsylvania. Let's get there. But let's first start with Ohio. Senator Sherrod Brown, he's a progressive, not just a Democrat. I mean, he is like cut from the same cloth as Senator Elizabeth Warren. He's up for re-election. That's going to be a tough fight for him to win in Ohio. Look at Montana, Senator John Tester. He's a conservative who's a more moderate-leaning conservative. He's got a tough fight. You mentioned Pennsylvania. I mean, that's going to be a fascinating state to watch. I grew up in the southeastern part of the state, and I can tell you that specifically from the impact that the presidential race will have in getting folks out to the polls is going to be huge. Trump was able to win Pennsylvania back in 2016 for the first time a Republican has carried the state at the presidential level since the 1980s. Okay. And then Biden won it back, Scranton Joe Biden, right? We remember that messaging in 2020. You look at the polls in Pennsylvania, that is going to be definitely one state to watch. And New York Times Siena has Trump leading Biden in 5 of the 6 battleground states. So, we're still a little less than a year out from Election Day. Obviously, anything can happen. But, this is the starting line, so to speak, for the 12-year sprint. And there's some troubling numbers for Democrats.
You're right. We're less than a year out, and anything can happen, Kevin, and it probably will. Kevin Cirilli, thank you very much for joining us on Capitol Review.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.